All right, welcome to week 10 of Huck's 52-week movie challenge. This week, the category was a movie with a fake band or musician. When I started to plan out the movies that I wanted to watch for the challenge, I wasn't really sure what I was going to go with. Week 10, I know Almost Famous and Eddie and the Cruisers were two of the examples that Huck gave out, and I kind of didn't want something super well known. Like, I wanted something a little bit more obscure. So I did a little research and landed on something that I guess I thought was obscure, but ended up being actually a cult classic. Um, and that's Phantom of the Paradise, which is a Brian De Palma film. And this is not the type of movie I would associate with Brian De Palma. You think about, obviously Scarface, The Untouchables, uh, was it The Black Dahlia? Those like crime thrillers, and just this was not what I was expecting to be a Brian De Palma film. But the second I read the description, I was like, this is what I have to watch this week because it's so different. And I don't think anybody else is going to watch it this week. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Drop a comment down below if you happen to watch Phantom of the Paradise. But I feel like this was just obscure enough to where nobody picked it. So I'm just gonna read the back here. I know I haven't been kind of reading the descriptions of the movies, but Phantom of the Paradise is a groundbreaking cult film favorite from acclaimed writer-director Brian De Palma. Carrie and Dress to Kill. There's two other movies, again, very different from this one. Paul Williams wrote the acclaimed score for this musical horror classic and stars as the evil record tycoon haunted and taunted by the disfigured composer Winslow Leach, whom he once wronged. Cheered by the Los Angeles Times as a delightful, outrageous visual triumph, and also starring Jessica Harper and Garrett Graham, this hilarious send up of the glam rock era is pure entertainment from beginning to end. It's actually a really good little description and a good little like review from the LA Times, because this is a fun movie. Um, Again, just not, I just didn't know what to expect with it, and I just wanted something a little weird, and that's what I got with this one. So again, it's a weird concept and style. It's a rock opera mashup of the Phantom of the Opera, Faust, and The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's got this wild like 70s rock theater energy the entire time. I mean, it doesn't really let up the entire length of the movie. I think it's 94 minutes. It's not overly long, a little over an hour and a half. But it's just so wild, and it just has this chaotic tone, and it's very colorful and very theatrical. Not knowing that it was a cult movie going into it, it really feels like a cult classic, really through and through. It feels like it wasn't really the kind of thing that probably was pretty huge on release day, back in 1974. I think is when this movie came out. Um, but it seems to have built a pretty passionate following, and I can see that now. After watching it, yeah, it's an interesting movie. It's really well done. The performances are fantastic. So you have William Finley, who plays Winslow and the Phantom, and he is just over the top in the best possible way. Really, once he becomes the Phantom, which happens after like a pressing accident, like he gets his head like pressed into like a machine, and gets like severely like disfigured and burned. So he kind of goes off, becomes a Phantom, and then from there it's just completely over the top, and it works really really well. He's fantastic in the part. You have Jessica Harper, who has very good screen presence, and at the time, great singing voice. I didn't realize it was actually her singing, and it is. Just a really good singing voice, And then, of course, you have Paul Williams as Swan, um, who is just this perfect little slimy music industry villain who he's quiet, manipulative, and just always pulling the strings kind of behind the scenes. Really well done. I mentioned it on the back here, and I was going to kind of mention it as just like a little fun fact nugget, but Paul Williams wrote all the music in the movie, which is really cool. There's a lot of really good music in here. It's very catchy. It's surprisingly catchy. I'll put it that way. Um, each performance it kind of shifts the tone slightly. You have kind of like a 50s rock, then you have some glam rock. It's just really good. The film has this like strange manic energy, and it just keeps it entertaining the whole time, even as it gets like which is weirder and weirder. It's the kind of movie where you never quite know what's coming next, and that goes Beef, right? There's this character. His name is Beef, and he's played by Garrett Graham, and really interesting scene, and just this the entire performance was just so wild and so weird. Like you just I don't know. I just didn't expect that to come out of this, and I don't know. Garrett Graham is actually really good. I didn't mention him when I talked about the cast, but he was really good and just very bizarre, uh, really bizarre character in Beef, and just a great character name. But um, yeah, Phantom of the Paradise really kind of surprised me. Again, it is not the type of movie that you would associate with Brian De Palma. Um, the eccentric tone and the creativity just makes it really fun. Um, the third act doesn't necessarily quite land. I think it kind of trails off a little bit during the third act of it. But it's got a really strong lead up to it and a really fun overall just I think I said chaotic before, but it's just this chaotic atmosphere, and it's just weird and wild. It's a really unique musical rock opera. Just again, not my typical genre of film, but I don't know. I had fun with this one, and I'm glad that I picked Phantom of the Paradise for this week because it was just something different. I didn't have this in the collection, so I did purchase this um, for the challenge, and it was worth it. I think I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, so obviously not a perfect movie, but still really fun, really unique, and just super weird, and something completely different from Brian De Palma. And this is early Brian De Palma, 1974. So this is before Scarface and all that other stuff that he's done. Um, but I think that's just what makes Phantom of the Paradise such a fun watch and something I wouldn't have expected in the end. And I did. I enjoyed this one. I'm glad I watched this for week 10, movie with a fake band or musician, because it's just so different. And I thought it was going to be obscure, and it turns out it's a friggin' cult classic. De Palma wrote this as basically a satire. The character of Swan was inspired by powerful record executives. The story about artists being exploited for their music, and it was all very intentional. And I think that's why it's kind of a mix of horror, comedy, and just rock industry satire. And again, I think De Palma was pretty spot on with some of that stuff. I think some of the stuff kind of resonates a little bit today. But yeah, that's Phantom of the Paradise. You're gonna have to let me know if you watch this one for the challenge or if you've just seen it in general, because this was a new one for me. I'm glad I watched it. Um, Next week, week 11, we've got a film starring Ryan Gosling. If you know what comes out next week, or you know what people are probably gonna to go see. Um, I know what I'm going to see, so there's that. But yeah, if you guys want to see the full list of the 52-week movie challenge, just stay tuned to the very end. I will post that at the end here after I wrap everything up. That is all. Let me know down in the comments, what did you watch for week 10? What are you looking forward to watching for week 11? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this out with your movie loving friends. I am on Letterboxd, Instagram, and Facebook. I'll drop a link in the description below to all those social media platforms. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.